If you're looking to add recessed lights to your house, pretty much any room or your garage, I'm going to be installing some remodel recessed lights. And these are the Sylvania Microdisc. These are actually designed for remodel. You don't need a housing. You just need 1/2-inch drywall. Now, I've installed 16 of these so far in my house. And I think they're some of the best remodel lights you can put in. One thing I can tell you for sure is if you're going to put in recessed lights, the ones that have like a little can housing to them, for some reason they always pop. Well, I know the reason. It's because of the expansion and contraction from your attic temperature to your room temperature. So if you turn on your recessed lights and it takes like maybe 6-7 seconds, you hear this pop sound, it's because of the expansion of the lights. And then when you shut them off, they do the same thing. But with these micro discs, they don't do that. They're super easy to install. And I'm going to go through the whole install process. I'm going to show you the actual lights that I'm replacing. The lights I'm replacing are about 15 years old. Now, LEDs don't really burn out. Maybe they do after 50 years. But they just get dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. So they're so dim that it's hard to see in my garage. I've already installed these in the house, and I thought I'm just going to install these in the garage and replace those old LEDs. So I'll unbox them. I'll show you what the old ones look like. Install these. Show you what the new ones look like. Alright, so I'm just going to take these out of the box so you guys can see what they look like before I start getting up on the ladder and installing one. And this is the 4-pack kit that I bought. So this is going to be one complete light right here. Slide this out. Take this apart. So here's the actual light. And this is just a foam gasket that just needs to stay on there. And basically, when you go to install these, you flip these up, stick it up into your ceiling, and then they spring down and kind of pull themselves up and hold themselves in place. Now, they work best with 1/2-inch drywall. If you have 5/8, it will also work. I've not installed them in any other thickness, but they should work in, I would say, probably 1/4 inch to 3/4 inch. So I'll just show you here what the back side looks like. Very nice looking light too. They're very thin, low profile. They look very modern when they're installed. And there's some specifications for you there on the back. So basically, you're just going to do all your wiring inside this box right here. You kind of stuff this box up inside the hole. Connect right here. Slide this back a little more and put your new recessed light up. So let's head out to the garage and I'll show you what we're doing. So here's the recessed lights that I'm replacing. Like I said, they're at least probably 12 years old. And I actually have one over there that I noticed is burned out. So that's what they look like. I'll be disconnecting these, pulling a couple down, and I'll show you how to install the new Sylvania Microdiscs. Now, if you're inserting these into a fresh ceiling, there does not come with a template to cut the hole. It gives you a dimension. But here's a little tip for you. You take this gasket off, put it on a piece of cardboard, and you trace the inside of the gasket with a pen, and then cut it out, and that makes your template. Because there's on the housing, there's a raised edge, and that will fit inside this. That way you can just put it up to your ceiling, trace around the outside of your template, and cut the hole. A lot easier than trying to measure and draw a circle on your ceiling. First things you're going to want to do is take your electrical box and you're going to take this screw out, and then that's going to reveal your wires. So once your screw's out, you can lift this cover off, and now you're going to have your hot, neutral, and ground wires, and it also comes with wire nuts. But what it doesn't come with is your knockout. So you're going to need to buy knockouts that look like this. They're going to insert from this side here. You just bend this tab in, work it up and down a little bit, it'll come right loose. And then you're going to secure this knockout, and that's going to hold your wiring in place. Now I like to bring the wires in from this side, not this side, because they line up better with the way the wires are coming out of this box. You have less of a bend in your wires. So you just take the supplied nut from this, you're going to screw that on, get that tightened down, and then you're going to feed your wires through, and then we'll make our connections. Go ahead and start making your connections. It doesn't matter what you start with, black, white, or the ground. You just want to line all your wires up so that they're all even on the ends. And my personal preference, I like these wire nuts that have the wings on them, and it makes it a little more easy for you to grip and twist. Go ahead and use the orange ones it comes with if you want, nothing wrong with them. I just prefer the winged ones. I can get them a little tighter, and if you're doing a lot of them, it's a little easier on your fingers. And how do you know when your wire nut is on correctly? You see how the 3 wires are still straight? I keep twisting until I see one twist in all 3 wires. Just like that. See how there's one twist? Now I know that this wire nut is on correctly. Go ahead and make the rest of the connections, and then screw on the electrical box cover. Once you have all your electrical connections made and your box is secure, you have your knockout tightened down, you want to make sure that all around the hole is nice and flat, that you don't have any debris hanging down, no chunks of drywall, because you want your light to fit perfectly flush with the ceiling. So you might need to take a putty knife and scrape around the edges. And once you have all that nice and smooth and clean, we'll go ahead and insert the light. Alright, so now that you know your hole is nice and flat all the way around, you just tuck your electrical box back inside your attic. Make your electrical connection between the electrical box and the light, and there's a notch that you can line up. You can't put that on wrong. Slide that little nut up and over it, tighten it up. Go ahead and push your box back a little farther. And then you're going to straighten out your springs. I find it kind of easier to hook one spring, pull the light fixture down, and then push your other spring up. And then it sucks itself right up to your ceiling. Alright, so I'm going to show you this install one more time, because these springs can be a little frustrating, but I've done enough of these that I figured out the best way to put them in. We'll get this here connected. And like I showed you earlier, if you get one spring on first, it's much easier than trying to get both of these springs to go up in the hole at the same time. Let me get this here tucked out of the way. Make sure all that's clear. And then go ahead and get one hook. Now I have that one there in. And there's that one. Make sure that wire's out of the way. And there we go. And another tip, make sure that you wash your hands before you put these up, because a little bit of dirt really shows up on these rings. Other than that, I got 2 done. We're going to go throw the power back on, and I'm going to show you what they look like. Alright, so just to show you what they look like, I have 2 of them installed. And there's my old one, and there's the 2 new ones. Now I do have these set on 5000K. They go all the way down to 2400. You just move that selectable switch on your electrical box to select whatever brightness you want. Now my old ones are not selectable at all. I think they were 3000K, but they've probably dimmed down to 2000K is what it looks like. And then I'll show you over here these as comparison. And if you look down at the floor's kind of a mess, but there's underneath the 2 new lights, and then if I go over here, that's underneath the old light. I'm going to finish installing the rest of the lights in my garage. I can already tell these are so much brighter than my old ones. Now, hopefully from this video you learned a couple things. How to install the springs a little easier. The winged wire nuts. If you don't have them, the orange ones that come with are fine, but the winged ones are so much easier to twist, especially if you're doing a bunch of them in one day. To create the cardboard template to make it easier to draw the circle on your ceiling. And the overall, what 5000K looks like compared to kind of a worn out 3000K. Now if you don't like this bright daylight, I would suggest selecting maybe the 3000, 4000K, and then really you want to select one higher than what you want in about a year, because these are going to start to dim. So after about a year they're going to dim to probably about 4000K, which is about right where I want it. So if you're putting these inside your home, you're probably not going to want this super bright daylight. Me personally, the other ones in my kitchen I put in, I selected 4000K on the selector switch. They're slightly, a little too bright right now, but after about a year they're going to be about just the right brightness. So I hope you learned something from the video, you found it informative, and I thank you for watching.